What is up, fight fans? Today we're going to be going over the upcoming UFC Fight Night card, which is Alexa Grasso versus Valentina Shevchenko 2. This card takes place tomorrow night at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada, and is the rematch between Alexa Grasso and Valentina Shevchenko. As most of you guys probably know, these two fought before earlier this year at UFC 285, and Grasso ended up finishing Shevchenko via rear naked choke late into the fourth round. The fight was decently competitive, but Valentina Shevchenko was winning. Grasso definitely did put up a good fight. You know, she was landing good shots and was making it a fight, but Shevchenko was definitely on her way to win a decision. So this card is the Mexican Independence Day card. There's, I believe, 5 or 6 Mexican fighters, including Grasso, that are on the card. Shavkat Rakhmonov versus Kelvin Gastelum was a fight that was supposed to be on this card, but ended up falling through, unfortunately. Charlie Campbell versus Alex Reyes. So this is, I believe, the second fight on the card. The second fight on the card, and it's at lightweight. And this fight should be good. I think they're more or less giving Charlie Campbell Alex Reyes, because Alex Reyes hasn't fought in almost 6 years. He's coming off a first-round knockout loss, albeit to Mike Perry, who's not like, say Mike Perry's a bad loss, but at the end of the day, it's a first-round knockout loss, and he hasn't fought in 5 years since that loss. And Campbell's been relatively active. You know, he has 9 fights. He fought on the Contender Series against Chris Duncan, who is in the UFC at the moment, and he ended up losing that fight by knockout in the first round, but he was actually battering Chris Duncan. He was beating the shit out of him, and he just got overconfident, and with his hands down, he got caught, and Chris Duncan just knocked him out. But he's fought twice since then. He's won them both. Oh no, one of them was grappling, so he's fought once since then, and he's won. I'll be honest here, the competition isn't great, but he's winning, and he's fighting, unlike Reyes, who hasn't fought in 5 years. And so I'm going to give the edge to Campbell. He has pretty fast hands. He has some power in his punches. You know, he did hurt Chris Duncan very, very badly, who's tough. Chris Duncan is tough. He didn't put him out, but he hurt him. He has decent grappling. I wouldn't call him a grappler, but he has grappling ability. And the main point that I give Campbell is he trains at a legit good gym. He trains at the gym Sarah Longo, the one that Aljamain Sterling fights out of. So he's training at a legit gym. He has good coaches. He has legit sparring partners. He's in the gym getting legit rounds with these guys day in and day out. And you know, I just kind of the advantage to him. He's been active. You know, he's only 28 versus Alex Reyes, who is 36, which is old for lightweight. You know what I mean? And he's young for lightweight. He's coming into his prime right now, Campbell. So yeah, I'm gonna give this one to Campbell. I'd probably say first or second round knockout, but I'm not too confident. He might end up going to a decision. But I mean, if Reyes comes in there looking stiff and just like a guy who hasn't fought in 6 years, then I could see him getting a knockout pretty early. The next fight is Roman Kopylov versus Josh Fremd. Now, Kopylov versus Fremd is a pretty good fight. You know, I mean, I feel like the hardcore fans are really looking forward to this one. It's going to be a chance for Kopylov to show off his striking and hopefully not get out-grappled by Fremd, who is going to go out there looking to out-grapple Kopylov. He normally goes out there looking to out-grapple guys. He's very big for the division, so he has success, holding guys against the cage, making them hold his weight, stuff like that, that wet blanket kind of wrestling where it's hard, when a bigger guy's on top of you like that, trying to wrestle you down. They both guys have fought very, very recently. Fremd fought on the Dos Santos Luque card, beat Jamie Pickett, which was decent win. I don't hold Jamie Pickett in that high of a regard, but I mean, just decent win. He has a win over Cedric Dumas, who I like him, but he's not a great fighter. I like him because he's kind of funny and he has a decent style, but he's not like a world beater. You know what I mean? So those aren't the best wins, and those are probably Fremd's best wins. He has a loss to Tresean Gore. He has a loss to Anthony Hernandez. So he's 2-2 in the UFC. He's not a hot prospect, but he has decent grappling. You know what I mean? He's a bit awkward on the feet. You can tell he's not as comfortable on the feet as, so you'd want someone to be against a guy like Kopylov. But Kopylov has been out-wrestled before. You know what I mean? So I think either one of these guys is going to impose their will in this matchup. Either Fremd is going to out-grapple Kopylov, or Kopylov is going to stuff the takedowns and start picking apart Fremd. I'd have to say that I'm going to pick Kopylov in this one. I think that he's a bigger prospect than Fremd. I think his striking is better than Fremd's grappling is, if you know what I mean. Like, Fremd has good grappling, but it's like kind of mid. Like, it's not bad, but it's not like great. But Kopylov's striking is really good. You know what I mean? It's really good. Like, the area where he excels more than Fremd does. Fremd is a good grappler, but he's not like a great grappler. So I'm going to give this one to Kopylov. I'm going to say second round KO or decision. But I do think that there is a chance he might get out-grappled here, because he has been out-grappled before by, like, I don't want to say bad competition. Like, it's not bad competition, but, like, I don't know, man. Like, he's only, like, he only has 2 losses, but one of them was, like, Albert Duraev isn't a bad loss, that bad, but Carl Robertson, like, is not a great loss, man. He got subbed in the first round by Marvin Vettori. Like, who is Marvin Vettori subbing in the first round? No one, ever. And so, yeah, it's not really a great loss but that was a long time ago, and I think that Kopylov has gotten a lot better since then. So yeah, I'm gonna definitely give him the fight. By way of finishing this out is Raul Rosas Jr. versus Terrence Mitchell. Now, Rosas Jr., as most of you guys know, is the youngest fighter in the UFC. I think he had recently turned 18 when they signed him, or maybe he was 17 when they signed him. I don't remember, but he's surprisingly strong for an 18-year-old with the build that he has, which is like, you know, he's pretty ripped, but he doesn't have a lot of muscle mass. He fights at 135, but he's surprisingly strong. Like, when he gets a hold of guys, you can tell he's typically the strong fighter. I mean, obviously in his last fight, that didn't work out for him. He ended up losing his last fight to Christian Rodriguez, but before that, I forget what the name of the guy he was fighting was off the top of my head. I had never heard of him before. But he looked a lot stronger than that guy, who was a grown man. Like, it was surprising to see him get a hold of this guy much bigger, not bigger, but much older than him when he's so young, and be stronger than him. Rosas is a grappler. He is a grappling-based fighter. He's looking to get a hold of you, get you down to the ground, sub you, mix in his takedowns with his striking. And he has a pretty dangerous submission game. A lot of his wins are by sub. The only thing I'd say is that his striking is somewhat questionable. Like, it's not bad. It's just sometimes it's a bit awkward, and you just kind of wonder, a guy that young with a grappling heavy style, like, how good is his striking? And in his last fight, his cardio was an issue, but before that, he hasn't really had issues with his cardio like on the Contender Series. So I don't know if his cardio is really that much of an issue, or if it was just a one-off thing. Now, Mitchell is big for 130, not big for 135, but he's long for 135. He's a taller guy for the weight class. He's coming off of a loss. So is Rosas Jr. Actually, Mitchell's not that tall for 135. I mean, he's 5'10". He just looks tall. He's kind of lanky. So he's only 1 inch taller than Raul Rosas Jr. And he's also a grappler first, and is a pretty good grappler, I can't lie, but he's kind of hit or miss, you know what I mean? Like, he's older now. He's old for the division. I think he's 33, which is old for bantamweight. Whereas he's 15 years older than Rosas Jr. And he kind of almost made it to the UFC in 2016, didn't, and then since 2016 he's fought 4 times, which is 4 fights in 7 years. So he hasn't been super active. I don't know how if he's been training consistently the whole time. I don't know. Who knows? So he's kind of old for the division, and he has an overall unpolished game. Like, he just isn't the best at everything. You know, he's kind of a decent grappler, all right striker. Wrestling is all right. You know what I mean? Like, he's not that great, and he is coming off a loss, as I said, to Cameron Saaiman. And I'll give him some credit. I think Cameron Saaiman is a legitimate prospect. You know, he's undefeated. He trains with Dricus du Plessis, who is one of the best fighters. Not one of the best, but like one of the best up-and-coming fighters in the UFC. I'm not going to say Dricus is one of the best fighters in the UFC, but he's one of the best up-and-coming fighters in the UFC for sure. And, yeah, I just think that this is sort of a preferred matchup for Rosas. I think he's going to be faster. I think he's going to be probably be stronger than Mitchell when they clinch up. And I just think that he's on a different path. I think that Mitchell's on the tail end of his career. He's 33, so he doesn't have that much time left, and he's not even ranked, so it's not like he's on a title run. It's not like he's Jared Cannonier, who's almost 40, but he's at the peak of his career. He's putting it all together. No, he's 33, only fought once in the UFC. I just think that this is a preferable matchup for Raul Rosas Jr. The next fight on the card that we will be going over is the card I'm personally most excited for, which is Jack Della Maddalena versus Kevin Holland. Now, this fight is going to be fireworks. I'm calling it now. This fight is going to be an absolute barn burner. These guys are both strikers and both like to work on the feet. Both won't be shooting takedowns. You won't see Kevin Holland shoot a takedown, and you won't see Jack Della Maddalena you might see Jack Della Maddalena pulling a guillotine, but he won't be shooting takedown. And I think they're both going to go toe-to-toe in the center and just slug it out. I don't think they're going to have a toe-to-toe slugfest, like a Gaethje Chandler brawl, but it's going to be a exciting striking matchup, and both guys have their strengths. We'll go over the list here. JDM has lethal punching power, tremendous body work. He's dangerous in the pocket. He has grappling to fall back on, mainly submissions. Same with Holland. Neither of these guys have a great wrestling game, but they do have submissions that they can fall back on. Holland, I would argue Holland has better submissions and grappling than JDM. He has a sub over Chiesa. Yes, he has lost to Hamza Chimaev, but Hamza Chimaev would do whatever he wanted to JDM if he got a hold of him. You know what I mean? It's not like getting out wrestled by Hamza means you can't wrestle. That was kind of the inevitable for that fight. JDM's on a 15-fight win streak, 5-fight UFC win streak, and he has won 4 of his last 5 fights by first-round finish. So he has more momentum than Kevin Holland, who's on a 2-fight win streak and is 2-2 in his last 4. But Kevin Holland's competition has been a lot better than Jack Della Maddalena's. His losses, like I said, are to guys like Hamza Chimaev, guys like Wonderboy Thompson. These guys are very, very, very good fighters. And they're very good fighters. They're not bad losses at all. I don't think they are. The Wonderboy one is a bit weird because he tried to entertain the crowd and didn't grapple when he could have. I don't know. I'm not saying he could have. Burns Bilal out wrestled Wonderboy, but he mixed it in. He definitely could have made it a closer fight. But I'd say Holland's the better grappler. Submission grappling wise. I could say wrestling, they're pretty equally not great at offensive wrestling. Neither of them really rely on takedowns for their game. Holland is much more experienced. He's had twice as many pro fights as Jack Della Maddalena has, and he's been in the UFC for a lot longer. He's been around the block. He's fought all types of fighters before. So has JDM, to be fair. He fought Randy Brown, who stylistically isn't that similar to Kevin Holland, but they have a similar build in that they're long for the division. But I would say Kevin Holland is better than Randy Brown by a good margin. Randy Brown kind of has a sus chin. He got knocked out by Nico Price on the bottom. Nico Price was on the bottom throwing punches and knocked out Randy Brown somehow. Randy Brown has a sus chin, and I like Randy Brown. Randy Brown, he's from Queens. He's a good fighter. He's a entertaining guy. The way he kind of hands down relies on head movement. It's fun to watch, but he's not that great, and he kind of has a sus chin. So when Jack chinned him, I was it wasn't a huge surprise that he got chinned, and then he got subbed, which was more surprising. But still, he was pretty much out when he got submitted. He had just gotten face planted by Jack, and then ate 5 hammer fists. But I just think that Kevin Holland has a much better chin than he does, and hits much harder than he does. Kevin Holland has underrated power. I know he hasn't. I know Santiago was beating him, but and Cowboy Oliveira is not isn't this world beater, but there's still wins, and there's still decent knockouts. And the fight of Holland's that I fall back on when I talk about his power and his underrated chin is the fight with Buckley. That was a really good fight. I think that was Buckley's debut, and Buckley was coming in hot. Big. He's more jacked than JDM, but he's not. I would say JDM hits harder than Buckley, throwing hooks to the body, hook to the face. I would say JDM hits a little harder, but Buckley's explosive. He hits really hard. And if you go watch that fight back, Buckley was ripping to the body hard on Holland. And, I mean, it didn't really faze Holland that much. He was defending them well, but, like, there were times where he was eating hard shots from Woodley to the body. And he was eating them like they were fucking cookies. Like Holland's tough. Like, I think that JDM's going to work the body, but I feel like the first few body shots aren't going to faze Holland. I think it will take round 2, round 3 for those body shots to really start getting to Holland. And his chin is good. He can take a shot. He was taking big shots off Wonderboy, who doesn't have the best punching power, but his kicks are hard. And some of those kicks where Holland was blocking him, he was blocking them, but they were still hitting him on the side of the head, and they weren't affecting him by that much. He has a great chin. He has good power. He's long. He's very long. He's much long. I think he has almost a 10-inch reach advantage. I think he has like an 8-inch reach advantage off the top of my head over Jack. So he can, he's also decent at fighting behind that range. Like, you see guys that are tall that aren't that good at fighting behind the jab. He does know how to fight behind the jab and the straight. He has a really good straight. I could see him catching JDM similar to how he caught Woodley, like JDM trying to get out of range and then kind of misgauging the distance, and Holland, because he's so much longer, catches him with one of those long straight shots right on the chin. And I don't know if I can see him starching JDM, but I can see him hurting him with one of those shots, like those lunging shots that Kevin throws, that because he's so long, you know, guys kind of don't think he can hit them, but because he lunges in with the shot, it does catch them, just barely clips him right on the chin. And he's very accurate. That's the one thing about Kevin Holland. He's very accurate with his punches. And he has very fast hands. So for this fight, I'm going to be picking Kevin Holland by... I don't want to pick him by TKO. This is a tough one to pick. I'm going to go Kevin Holland by TKO in round 3 is my official prediction for this fight. But I do think Jack Della Maddalena could win. But I think if he wins, it'll be by knockout in round 1. Because if he wins, I think he'll blitz Holland and overwhelm him, hurt him early, and not give him a chance to recover. Because when JDM's in your face, throwing punches, like, he's very hard to defend against. So, but I'm gonna pick Kevin Holland. I think he has the tools, the experience, you know, the cardio, the chin to get in there with a guy like JDM and come out on top. So now we're gonna talk about the main event. Valentina Shevchenko versus Alexa Grasso 2. Now, this fight is an interesting one, you know. Shevchenko was the guy at women's flyweight. You know, she was the 7-time defending champion, 5-year-long reign at the time of their fight. And she was that guy, you know. She was the big swinging dick of women's MMA at one point, besides Amanda Nunes. And she... Of her division, she was the guy, you know what I mean? And she's pretty well rounded. She has good grappling, but she is an elite Muay Thai kickboxer. That's her bread and butter of her game, is her striking, and she's an amazing striker, one of the best strikers in women's MMA history, besides like Holly Holm. And I'd argue she's a better striker than Holly Holm. I don't know if I'd argue that actually. Now that I think about it, prime for prime, it's pretty close. I'd definitely argue she's a better striker than Holly Holm. Prime for prime. And she has finishing ability, which isn't super common in women's MMA, which, as we all know, she has some of the only flatline KOs in women's history, like the one over Jessica Ai. Like, when does a woman MMA fighter flatline KO a girl in a title fight? Like, that doesn't really happen like that, and she's done it. She also does have a tendency to point fight sometimes. Like, she isn't always going for the finish, but what I mean is that she does have finishing ability. It is there. The one thing I do want to note is she's 35, and she has a lot of fight miles on her. And the women's divisions are all smaller divisions. And, like, you know, in men's MMA, you see, like, bantamweight, featherweight, lightweight. These 3 divisions, and flyweight even, are very hard for older guys to kind of dominate in, because you need to rely a lot on speed and it's just a lot more skill. Like, guys rely so much more on skill. You don't see guys like Glover becoming champion at 40 years old. Like, I don't think we'll ever see someone at bantamweight become champion for the first time at 42. Like, I would bet that that's never going to happen in the UFC unless the bantamweight division, like, goes to complete shit for some reason. So 35, with the amount of fights and miles she has on her, is old for a 100 for the women's flyweight division. You know what I mean? She has a lot of miles on her, and she's definitely old for the division. So that's worth taking into account. You know what I mean? It's not like it's prime Shevchenko here we're talking about. We're talking about definitely the tail end of her career. I want to say that if she won against Grasso the first time, there's a pretty decent chance she would have retired. Maybe gave Tyler Santos the rematch because people were saying how that one was so close, just to prove a point and then retire. But I really don't think she was gonna stick. She's gonna stick. I think if she wins tonight, she might retire. Like, I don't think she's gonna stick around for that much longer. You know what I mean? She's 35. She's been there. She's done that. Like, Nunes has retired. So, like, what is there for her to chase? She can't even chase that Nunes trilogy, which I don't even think she could have done in the first place because she's 2-0 to her with 2 losses. But, like, what is there for her to do in MMA? Like, she's already an all-time MMA legend and an all-time WMMA GOAT. You know what I mean? She is the second best ever besides Amanda Nunes. In my opinion, she's much better than Ronda Rousey. Like, look at the competition, look at the longevity. You know, look at how she handled the losses. It's pretty cut and dry. Grasso. Oh, yeah, also, she made a pretty bad mistake that led to the finish. And I don't want to take this away from Grasso. That was elite game planning from Grasso. She was practicing that back take. It was pretty clear that spinning back kick with no setup is what led to Grasso getting her back and then the rear naked choke. You know, it wasn't like she shot a perfectly timed single leg and then like swept around to the back and like it wasn't like that. Like what Charles did on Dustin. Like, it wasn't like she shot a single and worked her way to the back with ease, and you know, it was more like capitalizing on a mistake. But at the same time, she was ready for that, and her coaches had watched the tape and seen that Shevchenko throws that kick and capitalized on it. So it's a double-edged sword. Like, Shevchenko made a mistake that led to the finish, but at the same time, Grasso was ready for that mistake. She was waiting for her to do it. Now we're going to go over Grasso's points. She's coming off a finish over Valentina, which is going to give her confidence, and she has the momentum. I think she's on a 5-fight win streak. She's a great game planner because she has good. She was practicing that move in the locker room before the fight, so she watches a lot of game plans. She watches a lot of tape. She does have good game plans. She has good boxing. She has that Mexican boxing, you know, that she has crisp boxing, some decent snap to her punches. You know, she was landing clean on Shevchenko, but she wasn't like hurting her, but there was snap to the punches. You could see Shevchenko was feeling them, and they were snapping her head back. It wasn't like sometimes you see guys and girls throwing these punches, and it's like pitter-patter. Like Strickland before the Abus fight. Like, think of Strickland when he fought like Nasruddin Imavov. Like, those were some pitter-patter strikes, you know what I mean? And he improved his game. He definitely, now he sits on his punches more. That's just an example of a guy who was throwing these pitter-patter punches. But, like, Strickland's a good example of a guy who can throw with bad intentions. And when he does, we all know what happens. And, yeah, Grasso has some snap. You know, she obviously puts a little bit of shifting weight into those punches. So, and she has decent boxing, and she's a good grappler. Her jiu-jitsu coach is Diego Lopez, who, if you don't know, is a absolute dog of a grappler, like a straight-up junkyard dog. Like, that guy, you don't want to let him get a hold of you. He's snapping a limb or he's choking you out or something. That's one of the key things in this fight, is that guy's no joke. I think that he is a huge reason why she got that win. I think he's probably one of the coaches that saw that. I mean, obviously I'm speculating. I don't know. Wasn't there. But he's a grappling coach, and that was pretty basic. BJJ, get the back and get the rear naked choke. You know what I mean? So she's going to have a good game plan. She's going to have watched a lot of tape. She's going to have good corner to give her advice. So, you know, she's very, very good chance. And she's in her prime. She's 30 years old in a 5-fight win streak, just won the title. You know, she's in her prime. And she's going to have all the confidence. She's fighting in her event. You know, the Mexican Independence Day, the Mexican crowd's going to be backing her. You know, they're going to be, yeah. She's gonna feel the environment. I think she's going to be very confident. And that's where Valentina Shevchenko is going to struggle, because I think Shevchenko is definitely going to be confident. But it's all down to, like, does she know that it was because she made that mistake that she lost, or is she dwelling on that? Like, damn, like, she's either going to be like, oh, I know, like, if I don't fight like I did last time, over cocky, I got this in the bag, which could be true, or she could be thinking, oh, I have to be super careful with this Grasso, you know, she's dangerous. If you make one mistake, it might cost you the fight. So personally, I'm probably going to go with, this is a tough one to pick. I'm leaning Shevchenko, just because she's the second best WMMA GOAT. But I do have a feeling that Grasso is going to pull it off, because it wasn't like a fluke win. Like, it was kind of a fluke win. Like, it was kind of fluky, the way that it was like off that spinning back kick. But, like, in a way, it was kind of like how, like, she was like practicing, like, it was almost like McGregor Aldo. Like, I'm not comparing her to McGregor Aldo. Like, that was legendary. But, like, you know the video of McGregor practicing that step back left hand in the locker room, like, he's like pretending to be all stiff like Aldo, and then he's bouncing himself, and then he pretends to do the same punch he threw. There's a video of Grasso doing that with the spinning back kick. So, you know, I think that there's an aspect of flukiness, but there's also an aspect of, like, she kind of was waiting for her to do that exact move. So I don't think you can call it a fluke, you know what I mean? I think it's more great game planning and great diligent watching tape, you know what I mean? So I'm going to lean Grasso. I'm going to leave Shevchenko, but I think that Grasso could get it done. If I had to make a official prediction, I would pick Shevchenko by decision, but Grasso is definitely a live dog. So that's going to be all for today. Hope you guys enjoyed. Probably be doing another video for the next card next weekend, and I might, depending on how this card goes, might make a reaction video to it. So I'll see you guys in the next one.